Welcome to episode 22 of Pera's Playbook. Today I'm joined by Rachel Degutz. She's competes on American Ninja Warrior, our first kind of like non-traditional athlete, in the sense of football, basketball, hockey, all the kind of traditional sports. Obviously, American Ninja Warrior has grown into a huge sport in itself. It's got a huge following. So, Rachel, thanks for coming on. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy to represent those weird, unique sports. How are you doing?
Good. I'm good. I'm excited to talk about American Ninja Warrior. I've always enjoyed watching it. I would never say I was like a diehard at watching it, but I like watching it. And started watching your most recent season actually the other week. And there's some interesting obstacles that we can talk about here in a second. Before we get to that, how did you initially get into American Ninja Warrior? Like what made it want to be a thing for you? When did it kind of
Mm,
like, oh, I want to do this?
Yeah, well, I always kind of like knew it was a thing. Like I saw it on TV here and there. I knew who Jesse Graff was.
Yeah.
And growing up, I did sports, and then in college, I decided like not to do a college sport. I did track and field hockey in high school and gymnastics when I was younger. And then once I got to college, I was like, oh, I'll do like the club sports. And I did like club field hockey and club gymnastics, but like it wasn't like enough for me. And like it didn't really fit into my schedule well. And there was a ninja gym nearby, and I was like itching for like something. Like I thought I was like, okay, I'm in college now, like gotta like have a career, like I'm not gonna like make a living from like sports. Like I wasn't like playing on a super high level. Um, but then like there was just this huge like gaping hole in my life. And I had always been like good at sports growing up. So like I felt like I had a lot of like potential to like be really good at something, but like I just wanted to tap into it more. And there was a gym close to the college I went to, and like someone took me there, and I didn't go back for like 2 years, but I thought about it like every day since. And then like I like traveled a little bit, and then I was like, when I come home, I'm ripping the band-aid off, going in. And I went in and I made friends with like everyone there. And some of them like had been on the show, some of them like were trying to be on the show, competing. There's like a league that like we competed in. I still compete in, and it kind of just like all fell together.
Are those, speaking of like your high school, are those all your medals on the wall behind you? Are those from high school or what are those from?
Yeah, so it's a combination of like high school, even like before high school, then ninja, and there's like some Spartan race medals up there. The two numbers that you see, those are from the show. They give you like a number that's your run order. So
Okay.
like the top one, I was like no, runner number 64. The next one, I was runner number 21. That was from season 15. So um my qualifier, I was like the 21st person to go. Kind of sometimes they like rearrange things like night of. Um, but yeah, it's actually on a hurdle that I broke from my high school track. And I like asked my coach, I was like, oh, can I take it home? And he was like, yeah. So then I like made that in high school, and it kind of like stuck with me.
No, that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even realize that was a hurdle. I just thought it was like a board. Couldn't tell.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the top of a hurdle, and then
Yeah.
underneath it is another top of a hurdle. So there's two of them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, once you got to the gym, I guess what was the next step in like, hey, I want to be on the show? How does that work? Do you have to submit like a video showing you compete? Do you have to like obviously there's many steps before you even get to the qualifying chance.
Yeah, so there's an application that pops up online. Like typically it's like in the fall. And you make a like a 3 minute video. And that's like basically your audition. You're telling them like who you are, why like you should be on the show, like what's your story, like what interesting things do you do in your life that the viewers can relate to. And then you also should show like that you can do the obstacles, that you have some athletic ability, and they like want a range of people. So like they'll take there's it's like some people like can barely do the first obstacle, and then there's people that like can do really well. So like, but I think most important is like how you talk on the camera and like, do you have a story that they can tell? Like, so like I started Ninja in the summer and then I applied that like fall, but I applied that year. So that was for season 11. And then I didn't hear anything back that year. I applied again the next year. I didn't hear anything back either. So it took me like 3 years of applying to get on the show. I think I like just didn't show my personality in my like submission videos because like I'm like pretty energetic and bubbly and stuff. And like the show really likes that. But like I just didn't show that at all in my videos.
Yeah.
And then so they either pick you or they don't. Like, and you get like the call from the producers like saying that you're invited, or like you hear nothing. And like
Yeah.
it's terrible because like everyone like posts on Instagram when they get the call. So you know calls are going out and you just like sit there hoping your phone will ring. And then for me, my first 2 years, it didn't ring at all. And it was just me waiting and waiting. So
Was
yeah.
that hard? Like, was there any point of you that like once you didn't get a call that was like, I'm just gonna give up. I'm not gonna keep trying, or were you just determined to get on the show?
No, because it was more than the show for me. Like I just like doing ninja.
Yeah.
So the show was just like another thing, or like I guess initially like sparked my interest. But like I was doing ninja regardless of if I was on the show or not.
Yeah. I got you. I applied to be on Survivor. Never heard
Oh,
anything.
really? Is it a similar application process?
Yeah, you go on there, you like fill out information about yourself, and I think it's a 2 or 3 minute video, something like that. And I watched like a ton of like people who had been on the show and like what they did for their video, and I really didn't know where to go because some people had the simplest videos and then they went on the show and were fan favorites. Other people had like it almost looked like they had like a director like helping them with their video. Like the range and types of videos people send in is kind of interesting, and why
Yeah.
certain people get picked and why certain ones wouldn't you know
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to like the casting producers a lot. So I've gotten to know them over the past few years. And I think a lot of it is like, especially like on a show like Survivor, where there's like less people, like they want to like have a balance of like characters per se,
right.
like when you think of like ninja, like you want like the moms, the dads, the teens that are really good, this person who has a sob story, this person who's like a teacher, like has an everyday job, like this person who's like from a cool city, like so they have a variety of stories to tell. So like I think that plays into it. And like they say that like the quality of your video doesn't matter, but like I don't know. I feel like if you like have a really like well done video, like they might notice it more.
Yeah.
Um, or maybe you just get lucky, like if you like you said, if you have a simple video and they want to cast someone just like you. So sometimes I don't know. I feel like sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to do with you. It could be like what they're looking for.
Right. Yeah. It could be, they're just looking for somebody who's got, what you're kind of giving out. Maybe your career, they've never had somebody with like that background on the show, or it's not always about, hey, this is my life story. But and then sometimes it is like you got a unique life story that's going to bring you on. I'm sure it
Yeah.
also could just depend on what kind of a day the casting producer's having, like what kind of
Yeah.
a mood they're in.
Yeah. Or like your personality, like who they want.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Does your personality clash with the casting director? That might make a difference. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. One year, one of my friends was like, I'm gonna be the bad guy, like and be like the villain. But everyone told him that was a horrible idea.
Maybe that would work on a show like Survivor where they like are bad, somebody like voting people out. But I don't know if that
Yeah,
would
like they
work on
want
like,
drama. But
yeah,
like
on American Ninja
ninja, they don't.
Warrior. It's so this season, like I said, I've been watching. I haven't watched the whole season yet, but in the qualifiers, one of the obstacles that hung a lot of people up was lasso launch, and that I mean
It
that looked
launched me.
that was a pretty intense obstacle. It looked very hard. One guy, I can't remember who it was, but he had the strength, but he threw it over the top and then he got stuck. and he like couldn't get
Oh,
it off the first one.
yeah,
So like
I
he had the
remember that. I forgot who it was.
like man, like wow, he really threw himself, but then it was too much.
Yeah, well, you
So
didn't have the accuracy.
right. When you're going through some of those ups, what's going through your head? Like
I
what are
mean,
you thinking about during the
ideally nothing. Like the best runs I've had, I'm just like in like a flow state and like I'm just like going. I have like some cues that I use like for things like balance. Like I just want to be like on top, like and just keep going. So I think in my head like top, 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 top.
do
Um,
you hear the crowd noise? Or is that you like
not
kind of zone it out?
really.
It's like not there.
Yeah, I feel
Can
like
you
I
hear
zone it out.
Akbar and like can you hear them like saying stuff or like you're just like not
Yeah,
focused on that?
sometimes. I remember one year I was like at the Warped Wall. It was like right next to their booth. And this was my first year when there was no live audience because of COVID. And like I could hear them talking, but like I had to focus a lot on what I was doing. So I had to like zone them out.
Yeah. So do you know the course in advance or is that a
Mm,
surprise?
not really. Like, well, you coming into it, we have an idea of like what to expect. Like your typical qualifier course has like one agility and then the warped wall at the end and like the first obstacle, second obstacle is usually like upper body and the fourth and fifth obstacle are usually upper body. Um like for me all my like qualifier courses the fifth obstacle has been super pumpy. Um so like you kind of have an idea. I mean they've changed the format up this year so like we didn't really know exactly what to expect. But then when we like get to like LA, like the day before, 2 days before, like you start to hear rumors of like what you might see. Um, and then you kind of just show up and see the obstacles. So like there's a lot of the times like I've like shown up and like seen the obstacle for the first time and been like, okay, that's what we gotta do.
Yeah. What time of the year are you filming? It looks kind of cold in some of the areas. Like people were wearing jackets in the crowd and like
Yeah, so it films in the spring. This year they filmed in LA in like Hollywood, the Backlot Studios. Um, the same set where they filmed Back to the Future. Fun
oh,
fact.
that's cool.
Yeah. So I got lucky my night. It was warm, but I think some of the other nights it was cold. So what they did, they filmed the qualifier and semifinals like back to back nights. So like we flew out, we're there for like a few days. And then the finals in Vegas were filmed in May. So the qualifiers and semis were like in April or the end of March. I don't even remember. I think the end of March, beginning of April.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the timeline. And like you get casted in like, I think it was like the end of January. So we applied in like November, get cast in like the end of January-ish, and then have like 2 months, and then you go compete.
So you
And
have
then
a
it airs in
long
the
wait and then it's really short. It's
yeah, and
pretty
then like the
quick.
summer's over, and then like the season airs over the summer, and then by the time the summer's over, like a few months later, it's time to apply again. Except this year they filmed 2 seasons at once. So they already filmed season 16 because of the strike. So I don't think we're filming this year. I don't know. Things change a lot. It works out for me because I don't have to worry about like getting competition ready after like having an injury. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping that they don't film this year.
This might just be a stupid question, but is the water warm or cold?
No, it's like freezing. I mean,
Oh, it's like a
it
shock when you fall in.
yeah, I mean it depends like obviously the temperature that night. I remember one
They're
time,
not heating it.
no, one time like I remember I fell in the water. My like I wasn't even upset. I was just like, get me the F out of this water. Get a towel around me. So that's why I was like so happy when I cleared the course this year because I didn't get wet, which was
Yeah.
so nice. Like I didn't have to change. And I was like one of the last runners of the night. So like everybody was like on the bus by the time I got back. So
Yeah.
like it was nice. But yeah, it also films overnight. So if it's cold, it's like really cold.
Right. Yeah. So this season they also did the first head-to-heads,
Yeah.
and you had a head-to-head against Abby Clark. So that's got to change your mental like point of
Yeah.
view, because it's not just like, obviously some people are going for time, other people are just trying to, you can tell, make it through the course, get the buzzer, so you can have like a different mental, kind of point when it's just you and what your goal is. But when you're going against somebody else, you've got them either ahead of you and now you're trying to catch up, or you're ahead and you've got to try to maintain your lead, plus you're worrying about the obstacles, and there's a lot going into it. So I guess talk about that whole run.
Yeah. I mean, when I first found out we had to do racing, I was like, ah, shit. Um, but I don't know if it was like just because like I had a good performance that night, but like I liked it a lot better than I thought I would. I do think I do think that kind of pressure actually helps me. Like in Vegas too, like running against the clock, like it pushes me to go. Otherwise, like I take my sweet ass time. Um, but I don't know because I only did that once on the show.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was just like that one experience or not. But like I had to race against Abby, who like I train with, and like she's like really good. And she was like one of the people like I really didn't want to have to race. Like one, because like I train with her. I want both of us to go to Vegas so we could train to Vegas together.
Right.
And also like she's like really good, so I didn't want to have to race her. But like
Yeah.
in hindsight, like it helped me so much. Like I like it pushed me to push myself like to my limits. Like that was like the best performance of my career. And like I don't think I would have had that outcome had I raced someone that like I didn't think was as big of a challenge, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. In a way, it can help you. Sometimes pressure is good for a lot of people like
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah, I think I fall on that boat where like it in the right situation, like I thrive on pressure.
Right. Some people thrive when they're on the edge. Other people want to be in like a comfortable little, no pressure situation, and that's where they thrive. And it's different for everyone. It had to feel good to get to the end and hit the buzzer.
Yeah, it was my first time clearing a course. It's been my goal for like 5 years, ever since I started Ninja.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was, like, when you hit the buzzer, were you just thrilled? I mean,
Yeah,
like
I
what
was
was
just like
going through your head? Like, were you
I
thinking
was just like
anything or?
really happy. Like I
Yeah.
remember when I was climbing up the rope, I was like, "Oh my God, it's finally happening." Like I picture myself doing this like every single day. And it just like finally happened, and like everything just like fell in place. Like I did everything that I planned to do in that run, which like hardly ever happens. And like it felt so good. Like I remember like hardly any moments in that run too. Like I was just like in a very solid flow state. I like stuck to my plan. Like I was just really happy.
Yeah, totally. So what's the hardest obstacle you've ever faced? Is there one that just like always gets you, when you're
Yeah.
training or on the course or?
For the show, I think the hardest obstacle like I've ever done and not completed was the double dipper. They don't have it anymore. Now they have the giant roller coaster in Vegas. It's like that third spot in stage one where it's like a giant like double dipper.
Yeah.
Um, that's really hard. Um, I think like any kind of like slider tech thing, like I need to like hold back basically kind of because like you need like good technique with the right timing, and like I sometimes tend to overpower things, and like I've done that multiple times with like that style obstacle. So like I just have to like if I like don't have the right timing and I put too much power into it, then like I'm screwed. Or like if I just like tend to overdo obstacles sometimes, and like those are obstacles that I've overdone on the show a few times. So I
Yeah.
would say those are hard for me.
So what's your favorite obstacle? Like, do you have one that you really like when, doing and training, or, you like when they're on the show?
Okay, so like this is like kind of where pressure comes in back into the conversation. I like doing like big moves, but only when I'm in competition or only on the show. Like when I'm in training, I don't really like to do big moves. I think part of it's because like there are a lot on the shoulders, and I have like a fear of like my shoulders ripping out of the sockets. Um, but like when I'm on the show, like I'll like send anything, you know.
Right.
Um, and I also like have the adrenaline of competition. But like show obstacles, I've done like the honeycombs. They were like the third obstacle in my race. And I've also
Yeah.
I didn't compete when I did them in Vegas, but I tested when they were on stage 2 in Vegas. And like they're like the sideways ones, and they look like honeycombs, and like they're
Yeah.
just like really smooth, and they just like feel really good. And it's like one of those like power based big move kind of obstacles, which like anything that like requires a lot of power, I think I thrive on, because I think that's like a strength of mine in this sport, rather than like the technical things or like super grippy crimp obstacles.
Yeah. Right. Everyone's got their kind of like niche, what they're good at on their show. Some people are really fast. Some people have the strength, and like you said, some people are good at like the grip, and like I mean, there's like it'd be
Yeah,
super hard to try to train for every single aspect and get good at every single thing, especially when some of
yeah,
the stuff is just like natural, like just based on, how tall you are, or, some of those things like play an effect, obviously.
yeah. And there's also like
Um,
not like always one right way to do an obstacle. Like
right.
some people who are like are like better technical wise, like they'll like do like the flying bar like differently than someone like me, who I just kind of like tend to like just like chuck my body through it because like I have the power for it, which is
Yeah.
like something I'm working on too, just like getting better at tech. But like that's also like something that plays into it.
I've noticed that on the show, like watching the way different people approach kind of some obstacles is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So, training and the kind of the ninja community go together. You talked about training with different people, and the ninja community, just based on kind of what you see on the show with different ninjas cheering each other on, and everyone seems to kind of know everybody, and it seems really like a tight community.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yeah.
you all train together, like, or like there's still like groups, I guess,
Yeah.
these
And
ninjas
there's like
train
different
together, these.
gyms. On the show, they tend to group us by region. So I'm like from New Jersey, so I'm like grouped with like the other Northeast people. So like those are the people that I see more than like if they like put me in with like the Texas or Colorado people.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think it just like comes down to like who trains with who, and like who gets along with who, like what gyms are near you and stuff like that.
Right. You just got hurt training recently this summer. You had a hip
Yeah.
injury, right?
Yeah. I had like just like a freak injury. I was doing a world chase tag, which is like parkour tag for those of you that don't know what it is. You could look it up. It's crazy to watch. Um, anyway, I didn't fall or anything. I was just sprinting, and I just like stepped a little weird, but I was like sprinting really fast, and then I felt a pop in my hip, and like I couldn't really walk right, but I was at a gym that was like 2 hours away. So like I drove home, and but like it didn't really hurt, but like when I bent over, I felt the head of my femur move around, and that hurt. So
Yeah.
like I knew something was wrong, but like I like gave it a day or two. I was like, maybe it'll feel better. And then it didn't. so I went to an orthopedist and they took an x-ray and they were like, yeah, it's broken. And I like started crying in the doctor's office.
Oh my.
And then so they basically like didn't know like if it would like be able to heal on its own or not. So they wanted to like test out its stability to see if it was stable enough to heal on its own. But so they put me under anesthesia and like tested it out, but it wasn't stable enough. Like my when they like moved my leg, the my femur popped out of place. Like what I was feeling as well was so basically like the part that broke, it was the so if your leg and hip, it's like a ball and socket joint, the socket, the back of my socket, it's called my posterior acetabulum. A piece of it kind of like broke. It didn't completely break off, but like it broke enough that like it was too far away from the rest of the pelvis. So they screwed it back in place. I didn't
Oh
walk
my.
this summer, but I
Yeah.
can start weight bearing. And I took my first step today, and it was like
Oh wow.
crazy. It was really hard to do. Like my muscles are all tight, and like I lost a lot of strength in my leg, and it was like it feels like I'm learning a new skill all over again.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about learning to walk again, something kind of just take for granted for most of your life. Once you grow up, you just know how to walk. You don't even think about it. Now you got to think about it again.
Yeah, like I have to break down the movement of a step and like how to use my toes and stuff.
Did it hurt to sit down, with it being a hip injury? Like,
No, it didn't hurt to sit down. Um, it didn't really hurt. That's why I was kind of like so surprised that like they said I broke it. Like the only thing that was off was like I felt the bone move around when my hamstring was stretched. Which makes sense like no now knowing what happened. And
right.
I also couldn't extend my leg behind me. I couldn't walk right, which also makes sense knowing that like I where it was broken and stuff. But like once I when I broke it, it didn't like hurt. Like I always thought like, oh, if I broke my hip, like that would really hurt.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be excruciatingly painful.
Yeah, I mean, after they operated on it, like I was in a lot of pain because like
Yeah.
your hip, like the bones are like deep in you. So they had to like go through a lot of like the muscle and stuff.
Yeah. Does not
And
sound
I
like
had
fun.
a lot of swelling. I remember I felt like I had like 7 bricks in my leg.
Oh my.
And I still have swelling, but like a lot of it's gone down.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best in the rest of your recovery and then the getting back on the training bus.
Yeah, thank you.
So, do you ever get recognized in public? Do you ever have random people walk up to you and say, "Oh, I saw you on American Ninja Warrior."
Not really, except like a few weeks ago after I was on, I think it was after semifinals, and they like someone from a local newspaper like reached out to me and like um put me in like the newspaper and like everyone was sharing it like on Facebook, like my college and my town and stuff. Anyway, I was sitting in like a store and then like someone did come up to me then and was like, I watched you on TV. Like they kept looking at me. They're like, are you a Ninja Warrior? That was like the only time. It's only happened like once or like sometimes in gyms, like ninja gyms, if there's like little kids, like they'll recognize me. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess not just little kids, but like anyone in the ninja world, like probably
Right.
I feel like I don't know, like weird saying this, but like anyone in the ninja world that watches Ninja Warrior probably knows like who I am or have at least heard my name.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
they
mean,
should
I'm
know.
really lucky that like the show like shows me a lot. Like there's some people that have
Right.
on as much as me and like they never get shown.
Right. Yeah, I wonder do you know how they pick that? Like some people they get the full run, other people just kind of get the quick recap. Even if they hit a buzzer, they have a good run, they kind of just get like a quick 30
Yeah.
seconds.
I
Do you
mean,
know how they
again,
pick?
I think they like one look at like how the rest of the season goes. Like if you like do a really well in like the finals, they'll start hyping you up early on. Like a lot of the women that made it to Vegas, they will do a story on them either during qualifier or finals. Um, and then like if you have like a crazy run, they'll like do whenever they show your full run, they do a little story package on you. Um, so if you do something like crazy, um, then they'll show your run, or like if they want to like hype you up for later, they'll show some of your run instead of like it's like some people they just totally cut out. Like there's some people that compete and they don't get shown.
Oh man,
Like
that would suck.
that did happen to me last year in Vegas. They just didn't show me at all. Like I didn't have that exciting of a run. It wasn't anything fancy. And like they needed to cut someone out. Like I understood why they cut me out.
Yeah. Still kind of
Uh,
sucks though.
yeah. Yeah, it does suck. Or like if you have like a really like exciting story, like inspirational story that they 100% want to tell, like they'll tell it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I suppose they're trying to make a good TV show at the same time. Like they want people to be drawn in for other reasons than just the ninja. You know, they add
Yeah,
in
like if
that
you
kind
have
of
a really, really good story, but you didn't make it past the qualifiers, then they'll show like your whole thing during qualifier. And if you have a really, really good story that they want to show, maybe they'll save it for semis when like it can fit in there and you made it there.
yeah, right. They got that extra like human aspect. What is your favorite non-ninja hobby?
I've been doing so many new things now that I haven't been doing any sports all summer, which is so weird for me, but it's also like low key like a really nice break from
Yeah.
like because I'm just always go 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 because like on top of ninja, like I'm taking up a tag and I do CrossFit and rock climbing and everything else. I've been painting a bunch. I've been reading more, I'm writing more, I'm writing a memoir.
Oh,
Um, on like my
cool.
time with like ninja and like
Yeah.
finding myself kind of a thing. Um, I don't know. I've been playing a lot of Catan online.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I got into Love Island. I like didn't really ever watch like those kinds of reality shows.
They can suck you in. I mean, when
Yeah, it
I
gave me something
kind
to do every night
of,
because I'm not
yeah,
going out to the gym or like going out as much.
right.
Um, so yeah,
You're a
I guess more
teacher,
artsy
right?
stuff. Yeah.
So are you back to school, back to teaching yet?
We start on Tuesday.
Oh, summer's
Yeah. It's like
over.
really weird timing with like when I can start walking again and
Yeah,
when I go back to work. I mean, it kind of worked out with like the summer. Like I didn't have to like worry about like taking time off from school
yeah.
and like on disability or whatever. Um, so that worked out, but it's like weird. Like I'm not like every day looking forward to when school starts again so I can walk again. It's just like, I don't know. It's happening. It's
Right.
going with the flow of things.
Do your students get all fired up that you're on American Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, they think it's cool. I always like show at the beginning of the year and like sometimes like because it airs during the summer. So like I don't really get to like tell them to watch that much. So like sometimes I'll like show them random things or like if it relates, I teach science. So like sometimes I can like relate what we're learning to ninja. And like that's something the show like loves to talk about. Um, then like I'll show them sometimes they'll some students like think it's the coolest thing in the world and then other students are like I could do that kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure there's definitely plenty of those kids. Like I said, yeah, when you're sitting on the couch, it you feel like you could just do it so easily. Like I can do that.
Yeah,
It's like the all of those kind of reality TV shows, Amazing Race, Survivor, American Ninja Warrior. It's really easy to sit on the couch, out of the elements, out of the like. By the time you're on the fifth obstacle,
yeah,
you don't have muscles, so you can just think in your head like, yeah, I could do that. But In
Yeah.
reality, without any training, probably not.
Yeah. I mean, there's like so many ninja gyms now everywhere. If you just like do a Google search, you could probably find one like near wherever you guys live. But going back to the school thing, sometimes like I teach seventh and eighth grade, and my school goes from fourth to eighth grade. And like sometimes the younger kids are in my hallway when they're like going to art or Spanish. And like sometimes I'll hear them like whisper, like as they're going by my door, like that's the one on TV or something. I think that's like really cute.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that's pretty funny.
Like I feel like they're really excited when like they first like get me as a teacher. They're like, "Oh, we have the one that's on Ninja Warrior."
Yeah.
And like they're like once like a few weeks later, they're like, "All right, like you're just another person," kind of
Once you
thing.
start assigning homework, they're like, she's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
So is there more ninja to come? Do you plan on continuing? I mean, this is injury, change your mind at all, or do you want to get right back at it when you can and keep doing ninja?
No, I definitely like still want to do ninja, but I feel like I'm gonna have like a little bit of a different perspective on it. Like getting ready for the show this past year, like I was training really freaking hard, and I was like on a very regimented like schedule and like diet and stuff, and it was like a lot, and like I felt kind of burnt out afterwards, and like now I feel like I just want to like do ninja to have fun. Like there are
Yeah.
some ninjas who train like very like on a schedule, and then there's some ninjas I know that are like just as good, but like they just like do random challenges in the gym a lot. So like I feel like I just like want to like do whatever I think is fun.
Yeah. Well,
Does that
that's a
make
good
sense?
good mindset to have.
I'm sure I'll like get like back and to be like, okay, I need to do like this kind of course. Like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I feel like right now, like I just like want to like have fun.
Right. And you can always change your mind. Like you said, if you want, eventually you can be like, I want to take it more serious again. I mean, you have the freedom to
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah. And like I'm still like I have a hangboard, and if you don't know what it is, it's like little like ledges that you hang on to like train your grip strength. Like a lot of rock climbers use it. And like I'm still like motivated to like keep up my grip strength, and like I do grip workouts like a lot. Like I can still do pull-ups and stuff. So like I still like do have that motivation, but like I'm just like, nah, and I just want to like swing around and like do cool shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, why not? Have fun while you have the chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Which like in kind of like I'm hoping that the show doesn't film this year, because I feel like if it did, it would push me to be like, oh no, I need to like I like just like do certain things, or it'd put more pressure on me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully they take a year break if they filmed 2 seasons and
Yeah.
they just hold off. Guess you'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to end the episode. So, Rachel, thanks for coming on and
Yeah.
talking about
Thanks for
American Ninja
having
Warrior.
me.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Everyone watch Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go on. I mean, I know if you have DirecTV or Charter, all that, you can find it on demand. Otherwise, it's on Peacock.
Mhm.
So yeah, go give it a watch.